Welcome to Emma's Stories, where love sneaks up on you when you least expect it. Tonight, we're telling a story that begins with a twist. Imagine a woman, lost in a haze of wine and heartbreak, stumbling into a stranger's room, only to wake up and discover he's a billionaire who's about to turn her world upside down. This isn't just a tale of chance. It's a journey of two hearts, finding each other in the chaos of a rainy Seattle night. So, grab a cozy blanket, settle in, and let's dive into the magic of what happens when fate takes the wheel. Meet Emily Carter, a 28-year-old event planner from Seattle with a quiet soul and a heart that's been bruised one too many times. She's the kind of woman who pours her energy into crafting perfect moments for others. Weddings with rose petals cascading down aisles, proposals under twinkling lights, love stories that glow like constellations. But her own love story? It's a blank page she's too afraid to write. Just 3 weeks ago, her boyfriend of 2 years walked out, leaving her with nothing but a half-empty apartment and a suitcase of regrets. She'd told herself she'd move on, that she didn't need anyone. But deep down, the loneliness gnawed at her like a winter wind she couldn't shake. Tonight, though, Emily's stepping out of her shell. Her best friend Sarah begged her to come to a bachelorette party at the Grand Cascade, Seattle's most luxurious hotel, a place where the chandeliers drip with crystal and every corner whispers extravagance. Emily didn't want to go. She'd rather stay home with a glass of Merlot and a playlist of sad songs. But Sarah's pleading voice echoed in her head. "You can't hide forever, Em. One night. For me." So here she is, slipping into a little black dress that hugs her curves, her dark hair falling in soft waves over her shoulders, and a pair of heels she hopes won't betray her on the polished marble floors. The Grand Cascade is alive with energy as Emily arrives. Rain taps against the massive windows, streaking the glass like tears, while inside the bachelorette party hums with laughter and clinking glasses. The air smells of champagne and perfume, and the music pulses through the room, a rhythm that almost drowns out the ache in Emily's chest. She smiles for Sarah, raises a toast to the bride-to-be, but her mind drifts. She thinks about him, the ex who promised forever and then vanished. She thinks about the love stories she's planned, the ones that never seem to find her. "I've built 100 happy endings," she whispers to herself, staring into her wine glass. "But where's mine? Why does it feel like I'm always the one left behind?" One glass turns into 2, then 3. The room starts to blur at the edges, and Emily's laughter grows a little too loud, her steps a little unsteady. Sarah pulls her into a hug, giggling, "You're a lightweight, Em." But Emily waves her off, grabbing another drink. She needs this, the warmth of the wine, the way it softens the sharp edges of her pain. She doesn't notice the clock ticking past midnight, or the way the crowd thins out. All she knows is she's tired. Tired of pretending, tired of hurting, tired of being alone. And that's when it happens. Emily decides she's done for the night. She mumbles something about finding her room. Sarah booked her a suite somewhere in this maze of a hotel. She stumbles toward the elevators, her vision swimming, her heels clicking unevenly on the floor. The numbers on the panel blur together, and she presses a button, any button, thinking it'll take her where she needs to go. The elevator hums upward, and when the doors slide open, she steps into a dimly lit hallway, clutching her purse like a lifeline. She fumbles with her keycard, muttering, "This has to be it," and pushes open a door that isn't locked. What she doesn't know, what she couldn't possibly know, is that this isn't her room. It's a penthouse, a private sanctuary belonging to someone else entirely. And in just a few moments, Emily Carter's life is about to collide with a man who will rewrite her story in ways she never imagined. One wrong turn, one night drenched in wine and rain, is about to change everything. Emily Carter sways down the hallway of the Grand Cascade, her heels clicking unevenly against the polished floor. The walls seem to tilt, the golden sconces casting a hazy glow that dances in her wine-blurred vision. She clutches her purse with one hand, the other fumbling in her pocket for a keycard she's not even sure works. "This is it," she mumbles to herself, her voice slurring softly. Sarah said, "Third floor, right?" But the truth is, she has no idea where she is. The elevator ride felt like a dream, and now she's lost in a labyrinth of luxury, her mind spinning with Merlot and memories she'd rather forget. She stops in front of a door, tall, sleek, mahogany, and it doesn't even occur to her that it's not like the others she's passed. There's no room number, no subtle plaque, just an air of quiet exclusivity. She presses her keycard against the handle, but it doesn't beep. The door simply swings open, unlocked, as if it's been waiting for her. Emily doesn't question it. She stumbles inside, kicking off her heels with a groan, and collapses onto a plush velvet sofa that feels like sinking into a cloud. "Why does it always end like this?" she whispers, her head lolling back against the cushions. Alone, lost, and a little broken. The room around her is a masterpiece she doesn't fully register. A penthouse bathed in soft amber light, with floor-to-ceiling windows framing the rain-streaked Seattle skyline. A grand piano sits in one corner, its black lacquer gleaming, while a bar stocked with crystal decanters glows faintly in another. The air smells of leather and something faintly spicy, like expensive cologne. But Emily's too far gone to notice. Her eyes flutter shut, her dark hair spilling over the armrest, and she lets the wine pull her under, a temporary escape from the ache in her chest. Minutes pass, or maybe hours, before the door opens again. James Harrison steps into his private penthouse, loosening his tie after a long, secretive meeting with investors. At 34, he's a man who commands rooms without trying. Tall, broad-shouldered, with sharp green eyes that see through people and a jawline that could cut glass. He's the billionaire behind the Grand Cascade chain, but few know his face. He prefers shadows to spotlights, a habit born from years of guarding his privacy. Tonight, though, his sanctuary isn't empty. He freezes mid-step, spotting the stranger sprawled across his sofa. "Who the hell are you?" he mutters under his breath, but there's no anger in it, just curiosity. He steps closer, his polished shoes silent on the thick rug, and studies her. Emily's dress has ridden up slightly, revealing a sliver of thigh, and her face is softened by sleep, lips parted in a way that's almost vulnerable. She's beautiful, he thinks, in a raw, unpolished way that catches him off guard. He should call security. He should wake her up and send her on her way. But something stops him, a flicker of something he hasn't felt in years. Instead, James sits in the leather armchair across from her, elbows resting on his knees, watching her breathe. The rain taps a steady rhythm against the windows, and the city lights blur into streaks of gold and silver beyond the glass. He's about to stand when Emily stirs, her eyes fluttering open. She blinks at him, confused, then sits up with a start. Where am I?" Her voice is husky, tinged with panic. "You're not supposed to be here, are you?" James says, his tone calm but laced with amusement. He leans back, crossing one leg over the other, his gaze steady. Emily rubs her eyes, smudging her mascara. I thought this was my room. I'm so sorry. I'll go." She tries to stand, but her legs wobble and she flops back onto the sofa with a small laugh. "Okay, maybe not yet." James tilts his head, a faint smile tugging at his lips. "Rough night? You could say that." She looks at him, really looks at him, and her breath catches. He's gorgeous, she realizes, even through the haze. Dark hair, slightly mussed, a white shirt unbuttoned at the collar, and those eyes piercing, like they're peeling back her layers one by one. "I'm Emily," she says, surprising herself. "And I'm apparently a mess, James." He doesn't offer more, but his voice is warm like aged whiskey. "And you're not a mess. You're just misplaced." She laughs again, softer this time, and it's a sound that hits him like a melody he didn't know he needed. They talk about nothing, about everything. She tells him about the party, about how she's always the one planning other people's joy. He listens, nodding, letting her words fill the quiet. "What about you?" she asks, leaning forward. Why are you up here all alone? Maybe I like the quiet, he says, but his eyes say something else. Something lonely. Something hungry. The air shifts, thickens, and before either of them can think too hard, she's scooting closer, her hand brushing his knee. You don't seem quiet, she murmurs, her inhibitions drowned in wine. He catches her wrist, but he doesn't pull away. Careful, he warns, voice low. You don't know me. Maybe I want to. Her words hang there, bold and fragile, and it's all the invitation he needs. He leans in, slow at first, giving her a chance to retreat. She doesn't. Their lips meet, tentative then desperate, a collision of need and heat. Her fingers tangle in his hair, his hands find her waist, pulling her against him. The kiss deepens, ignites, and soon they're lost in each other, her on his lap, his shirt half unbuttoned, the rain a forgotten soundtrack to their sudden, reckless passion. I don't do this, she gasps against his mouth, but she's already melting into him. Neither do I, he breathes, and it's the truth. Years of walls, of solitude crumble in her touch. They move to the bed, a tangle of limbs and whispers, the city lights painting their skin in gold. It's not just physical. It's a connection neither of them can name, a spark that burns brighter than the storm outside. As they collapse together, breathless and spent, James thinks, her laughter was like music I'd never heard, and for once, I didn't want the night to end. Sunlight spills through the massive windows of the penthouse, painting the room in soft gold. Emily Carter stirs beneath silk sheets, her head pounding as the haze of last night creeps back. She blinks, confused by the unfamiliar weight of the blanket, the scent of crisp linen mixed with something masculine and warm. This isn't her bed. Her eyes snap open and she bolts upright, clutching the sheet to her chest. The room spins for a moment before settling into focus, a sprawling bedroom with sleek furniture, a wall of glass overlooking Seattle's skyline, and clothes scattered across the hardwood floor. Her dress, her shoes, a man's shirt. Her stomach drops. Oh no, she whispers. What did I do? She swings her legs over the edge of the king-size bed, her bare feet brushing the cool floor. Memories flood in, wine, laughter, a pair of green eyes that saw right through her. James. The name echoes in her mind, sharp and real. She presses a hand to her forehead, trying to piece it together. The party, the elevator, stumbling into this room, and then him. His voice, low and steady, his touch electric and urgent. Her cheeks burn as she spots her bra draped over a chair. This is bad, really bad. She's never done anything like this, never let herself fall so far out of control. The sound of running water pulls her from her panic. A door across the room opens, and James Harrison steps out, steam trailing behind him from the bathroom. He's already dressed, a crisp white shirt tucked into tailored pants, his dark hair damp and tousled. He looks like he belongs here, in this world of luxury and power, while she feels like an intruder. He pauses when he sees her, a faint smile tugging at his lips. Good morning, he says, his voice smooth as velvet. Emily tugs the sheet higher, suddenly aware of how little she's wearing. Hi. Her voice cracks and she winces. Smooth, Emily. Real smooth. She glances around, desperate for an escape. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. This isn't my room. He leans against the doorframe, crossing his arms. I figured that out around the time you passed out on my sofa. His tone is light, teasing, but his eyes hold something deeper, something that makes her heart skip. You crash my night? But I didn't mind the company. She laughs, a nervous little sound, and runs a hand through her tangled hair. Right, yeah, I'm not usually like this. I swear I'm not some crazy person who breaks into random rooms. She spots her dress on the floor and mentally calculates how fast she can grab it without losing the sheet. I should go. I've already overstayed my welcome. James steps closer, picking up her dress and handing it to her with a casual ease that somehow makes her feel less exposed. "You don't have to rush off. Coffee's brewing if you want some." He turns toward the kitchen area, giving her a moment to breathe. She clutches the dress, her mind racing. He's calm, too calm. Who is this guy? And why isn't he freaking out about a stranger in his bed? She slips the dress on under the sheet, fumbling with the zipper as she stands. One of her silver hoop earrings catches on the fabric and falls, rolling across the floor. She doesn't notice, too focused on smoothing her hair and finding her purse. "Thanks, but I really need to get back. My friend's probably worried sick." It's a lie. Sarah's likely still asleep, blissfully unaware of Emily's detour, but she needs an excuse, something to anchor her to reality. James returns with 2 mugs, the rich smell of coffee filling the air. He offers her one, but she shakes her head. "Suit yourself," he says, taking a sip. "You're welcome to crash here any time, though. You're not half bad at it." His smile is crooked, playful, and it does something dangerous to her chest. "I'll pass," she says, forcing a laugh. "But thanks for not kicking me out." She grabs her purse from the sofa, her bare feet padding toward the door. She glances back once, catching his gaze. Those eyes again, intense and unreadable. "Bye, James." "See you around, Emily," he replies, and the way he says her name lingers, soft and deliberate, like a promise. She slips out, the door clicking shut behind her, and hurries to the elevator. Her heart pounds as she presses the button, her reflection in the mirrored walls showing a mess of smudged mascara and wild hair. "What was that?" she mutters to herself. "Who was he? And why can't I shake the feeling I've just stepped into something I can't undo?" Back in the penthouse, James watches her go, his coffee cooling in his hand. He bends down, picking up the silver earring she left behind. He twirls it between his fingers, the metal catching the light. "She's a mystery I didn't know I needed to solve," he thinks, slipping it into his pocket. "One night, and she's already under my skin." He doesn't know why he let her stay, why he didn't call security or push her away. All he knows is that last night woke something in him, something he'd buried years ago. And now, he's not sure he wants it to sleep again. A week has passed since Emily Carter stumbled out of that penthouse, her head still spinning from wine and the memory of James's touch. She's back to her routine in Seattle, planning events with a forced smile, pretending that night never happened. But it did. It haunts her. The way his voice wrapped around her name, the warmth of his hands pulling her close, the way she felt alive for the first time in months. She tells herself it was a mistake, a blurry moment she should forget. Yet every quiet moment, every sip of coffee brings him back. He was just a stranger, she thinks, staring at her laptop in her cramped apartment. So why does it feel like he left a piece of himself with me? Her phone buzzes, snapping her out of her thoughts. It's her boss, Lisa, with a last-minute assignment. "Emily, we landed a big one. The Grand Cascade is hosting a charity auction tomorrow night, and they need you on site. Don't mess this up." Emily's stomach flips. The Grand Cascade? The same hotel where she lost herself in a stranger's arms? She wants to say no, to beg off with some excuse, but the rent's due, and she needs the gig. "Fine," she mutters, grabbing her planner. "I'll just avoid the penthouse floor. No big deal." The next evening, the Grand Cascade buzzes with Seattle's elite. Men in tuxedos and women in shimmering gowns glide through the ballroom, their laughter mingling with the clink of champagne flutes. Emily stands near the stage, clipboard in hand, directing caterers and adjusting centerpieces. She's all business in a navy blazer and pencil skirt, her hair pulled into a tight bun, but her eyes keep darting to the elevators, half expecting, half dreading, a glimpse of him. "Focus," she tells herself. "He's probably not even here. It's a hotel, not his personal playground." Then she sees him. James Harrison steps into the ballroom, and the air shifts. He's devastating in a black tuxedo, his dark hair swept back, those green eyes scanning the room with quiet authority. People part for him, nodding respectfully, but he doesn't seem to notice. Emily freezes, her clipboard slipping in her sweaty palms. He's here. He's real. and he's walking straight toward her. Oh God, she thinks, ducking behind a floral arrangement. Please don't see me. Please don't. Emily? His voice cuts through the chatter, low and familiar, stopping her heart. She straightens, forcing a smile as he closes the distance. Up close, he's even more striking, the faint stubble on his jaw catching the light. What are you doing here? He asks, a hint of surprise softening his features. I work here, well, not here, but for the event. She gestures vaguely at the room, her words tumbling out. I'm an event planner, this is my job. What about you? Do you live here or something? She cringes at how awkward she sounds, but he just smiles, that same crooked smile from that morning. Something like that, he says, his tone cryptic. I'm overseeing the auction, the hotel asked me to step in. He doesn't elaborate, and she doesn't push, not yet. Instead, he tilts his head, studying her. You look different, more put together. She laughs, brushing a stray hair behind her ear. Yeah, well, I'm not drunk this time. Makes a difference. His eyes darken slightly, and she feels the pull again, that electric thread tying them together. Before she can stop herself, she adds, I didn't think I'd see you again. I didn't either, he admits, stepping closer. But I'm glad I did. The words hang there, simple yet heavy, and her breath catches. He's glad. What does that mean? She's about to ask when a waiter interrupts, asking for her input on the seating chart. James nods, letting her go, but his gaze follows her across the room. The night unfolds, and somehow they keep finding each other. He asks her to check the sound system, then to help him adjust the auction display. Each task feels like an excuse, a reason to stay near her. She catches him watching her as she directs the staff, his expression unreadable but intense. During a lull, he finds her by the bar, offering her a glass of water. No wine tonight, he teases, leaning against the counter. Not a chance, she says, taking the glass. Their fingers brush and a jolt runs up her arm. I've learned my lesson. But she hasn't, not really, because standing this close to him, she feels the same reckless pull she did that night. They talk about the auction, the ridiculous bids, the woman in a peacock-feathered hat who keeps raising her paddle. It's easy, natural, like they've done this 100 times. Later, the band strikes up a slow song, and couples drift to the dance floor. James sets his drink down and holds out his hand. Dance with me, he says, not a question, but a quiet command. She hesitates, her mind screaming that this is a bad idea, but her heart wins. She slips her hand into his, and he leads her to the floor. His arm slides around her waist, firm and warm, and she fits against him like she belongs there. They sway to the music, the world fading, until it's just them, the soft notes wrapping around them like a cocoon. You make chaos feel like home, he murmurs, his breath grazing her ear. Her pulse races, and she looks up, meeting his gaze, those eyes again, pulling her in, stripping her bare. He's a stranger, she thinks, yet every word he says feels like it's always belonged to me. The song ends, but they don't let go, not yet. She's about to speak when his jacket pocket shifts and something falls, a flash of silver hitting the floor. Her earring, the one she lost that morning. She bends to pick it up, her fingers trembling as she holds it between them. This is mine, she says, her voice barely above a whisper. You kept it? James doesn't flinch. I couldn't forget you if I tried, he says, his hand closing over hers, trapping the earring between their palms. I've been carrying it since you left. Her mind reels. He knew. All night he knew who she was, and he didn't say a word. Why, she asks, searching his face. Why didn't you tell me? Because I wanted you to stay, he says, his voice rough with something raw. Not because you crashed into my room, but because you wanted to, and tonight you did. Her heart slams against her ribs. He's not just some guy. He's the man from that night, the one who turned her world upside down with a single kiss. And now, standing here, she realizes she's not ready to walk away. The ballroom hums around Emily Carter as she stands frozen, the silver earring still warm in her hand. James Harrison's confession echoes in her ears. I couldn't forget you if I tried. The music fades, the chatter of Seattle's elite blurring into a distant hum. Her heart pounds, a chaotic rhythm against the quiet certainty of his gaze. She thought tonight was a fluke, a sweet coincidence pulling them back together. But he knew! He's known all along. The realization crashes over her, thrilling and terrifying all at once. Who are you really? She asks, her voice trembling. And why does this feel bigger than one night? James takes her elbow gently, steering her away from the dance floor toward a quieter corner near the bar. The crowd parts for him, a subtle deference she didn't notice before. Let's talk, he says, his tone low but urgent. Not here. She follows, her heels clicking on the marble, her mind racing with questions. They stop by a tall window, the rain streaking the glass in silver ribbons mirroring the storm brewing inside her. He turns to face her, hands in his pockets, his expression a mix of resolve and something softer, something vulnerable. I'm James Harrison, he begins, pausing as if testing her reaction. I own the Grand Cascade, all of them, Seattle, New York, Paris. This isn't just a hotel to me, it's my life. Her breath catches. She's heard the name before, whispered in boardrooms and splashed across business headlines. James Harrison, the reclusive billionaire who built a hotel empire from nothing. But the man in the articles was a shadow, a faceless mogul, not this man with his crooked smile and eyes that see too much. You're him? She says, disbelief lacing her words. The James Harrison? He nods, a flicker of unease crossing his face. I don't advertise it. I like my privacy. That night when you stumbled in, I didn't plan on letting you stay. I don't let people in, Emily. Not anymore. His voice drops, heavy with something unspoken. But you were different. You didn't know who I was, and you still looked at me like I was worth something. Not the money, not the name, just me. Her chest tightens. She wants to believe him, wants to hold on to the warmth of his words. But there's more. She can feel it, a shadow lurking behind his confession. There's something you're not saying, she presses, stepping closer. What happened? Why don't you let people in? He looks away, jaw clenching, and for a moment she thinks he'll shut her out. Then he exhales slow and ragged and meets her gaze. 5 years ago, I loved someone. Her name was Sophie. She was everything to me, smart, fearless, beautiful. I thought we'd build a life together. His voice cracks, and he runs a hand through his hair. But she didn't love me. She loved what I could give her. The money, the power. When I caught her leaking company secrets to a rival, she didn't even deny it. She just walked away, left me with nothing but a broken trust I couldn't fix. Emily's heart aches for him, the pain in his eyes mirroring her own scars. I'm sorry, she whispers. That's awful. She reaches for his hand, but he pulls back, shaking his head. That's not the worst of it, he says, his voice barely audible. After she left, I swore I'd never let anyone close again. I built walls, hid behind this empire. That night with you, it was the first time I let them down. You stumbled in, all chaos and honesty, and I couldn't push you away. I didn't want to. He looks at her, raw and unguarded. You made me feel again, Emily, but I don't know if I can give you what you deserve. I'm not sure I'm whole enough for that. Her throat tightens, tears pricking her eyes. She sees it now, the weight he carries, the reason he's kept her at arm's length tonight. You don't have to be whole, she says, her voice steady despite the tremor in her chest. I'm not either. Maybe that's why this feels right. She steps closer, closing the gap he tried to keep. But I need the truth, James. All of it. No more secrets. Before he can respond, a sharp voice cuts through the air. James, darling! Emily turns to see a woman striding toward them, her red dress clinging to her like a second skin, blonde hair cascading in perfect waves. She's stunning, regal, and her smile is a blade. "I've been looking everywhere for you," she purrs, sliding an arm through his. James stiffens, his face hardening. "Claire," he says, his tone clipped. "What are you doing here?" Claire ignores his question, her blue eyes locking onto Emily with cold precision. "And who's this?" she asks, her voice dripping with disdain. "Another little fling? You always did have a weakness for strays." She laughs, a sound that grates against Emily's nerves. Emily's stomach twists. "I'm Emily," she says, lifting her chin, "and I'm not a fling." Claire's smile widens, predatory. "Oh, sweetie, you have no idea what you've stumbled into. I'm Claire Davenport, James's fiancée." The word lands like a punch, knocking the air from Emily's lungs. "Fiancée?" She looks at James, searching for denial, but his silence is deafening. Claire leans in, her voice a venomous whisper. "He's mine, and you're just a drunken mistake he'll forget by morning. Run along now." Emily's world tilts. She steps back, the earrings slipping from her fingers to clatter on the floor. "Is this true?" she asks James, her voice breaking. "Are you engaged?" He opens his mouth, but nothing comes out, his eyes stormy with conflict. "That's enough. It's too much. I thought I'd found a spark," she thinks. "I thought I'd found a fire waiting to burn me." She turns and walks away, her steps unsteady, the ballroom blurring through tears she refuses to let fall. Claire's laughter follows her, sharp and triumphant. James calls her name, but she doesn't stop. She pushes through the crowd, past the glittering gowns and fake smiles, until she's outside, the rain soaking her skin. "Stupid," she mutters, wrapping her arms around herself. "So stupid to think he was different." Back inside, James shakes off Claire's grip, his face a mask of fury. "We're not engaged," he snaps. "That ended years ago, and you know it." Claire smirks, unfazed. "Your family doesn't think so," she says. "They still want me for you. This little nobody? She's nothing." James clenches his fists, his mind racing. He should go after Emily. He needs to. But Claire's words dig into him, dragging up old doubts. Can he really let her in? Can he risk it again? Outside, Emily stands under the hotel awning, rain dripping from her hair. "He's a billionaire," she thinks, bitter and broken. "Of course there's someone else. Of course I'm the fool." She doesn't know Claire's lying. Doesn't know James is fighting his own battle inside. All she knows is the hurt, the betrayal, the echo of a night that promised more than it could give. Rain falls in heavy sheets outside, the Grand Cascade, soaking Emily Carter as she stands under the awning, her arms wrapped tight around herself. The cold seeps into her skin, but it's nothing compared to the ache in her chest. Claire's words replay in her mind, sharp and cruel. "He's mine, and you're just a drunken mistake." She believed James was different, that the spark between them was real. Now it feels like a lie, a fragile dream shattered by the blonde in the red dress. "I'm such an idiot," she whispers, her breath fogging in the damp air. "I let myself fall, and he let me hit the ground." Inside the ballroom, James Harrison pulls away from Claire Davenport, his hands clenched into fists. Her smirk grates on him, her confidence a reminder of every reason he's kept his heart locked away. "We're not engaged," he says again, his voice steel. "That was over years ago, Claire. You don't get to waltz in here and ruin this." He glances toward the doors where Emily disappeared, his chest tightening. He can still see her face, the hurt in her eyes, the way she walked away like he'd torn something out of her. Claire adjusts her hair, unbothered. "Oh, James, don't be dramatic. My parents and yours still talk. They want us together. This girl, she's a nobody, a fling. You'll thank me when you come to your senses." She steps closer, her hand brushing his arm. "We're inevitable, you know that." He shakes her off, stepping back. "No, you're wrong. I've spent years building an empire, hiding from everything I wanted to feel. One night with her showed me it's nothing without a heart to share it with." His voice cracks, raw with a truth he's only now admitting. "She's not a fling. She's everything." Claire's smile falters, but he doesn't wait for her reply. He turns and strides toward the exit, his pulse racing. He can't lose her. Not like this. Outside, Emily shivers, her blazer soaked through. She should leave, call a cab, go home and forget this night ever happened. But her feet won't move. She keeps seeing James's face, the way he looked at her when they danced, the way he held her earring like it meant something. Was it all fake, she thinks, tears mixing with the rain on her cheeks? Or was I just too blind to see the truth? She's about to turn away when the hotel doors burst open and James steps into the storm. "Emily." His voice cuts through the rain, desperate and loud. She freezes, turning to see him standing there, his tuxedo darkening as the water drenches him. He doesn't care. He walks toward her, his eyes locked on hers, every step deliberate. "Wait, please." She crosses her arms, her defenses up. "Why? So you can tell me more half-truths? I don't need this, James. I don't need you." Her voice shakes, betraying the lie. She does need him, and that's what hurts most. He stops a few feet away, rain dripping from his hair, his face a mix of anguish and determination. "Claire's not my fiancée. She hasn't been for years. My family pushed her on me after Sophie left, thought she'd be the perfect match for the Harrison name. But I ended it. I walked away because she didn't love me, not the way I needed, not the way you do." Emily blinks, rain blurring her vision. "How do I trust you? You didn't tell me about her. You didn't tell me who you are. I thought—" She swallows hard, her voice breaking. "I thought you saw me, really saw me. But how do I know this isn't just another game?" He steps closer, close enough that she can feel the heat of him despite the cold. "Because I'm standing here in the middle of a damn storm begging you to listen. I didn't tell you everything because I was scared. Scared of this, of you, of how much you make me feel." He takes her hands, his grip firm and warm against her icy fingers. "That night, when you stumbled into my room, I was lost. I'd been lost for years. Then you laughed, you talked, you kissed me, and I wasn't lost anymore. You brought me back, Emily." Her breath hitches, his words slicing through her doubt. She wants to pull away, to protect herself, but his eyes hold her steady and true. "You're a billionaire," she says, her voice small. "You could have anyone. Why me?" "Because you're real," he says, his thumb brushing her knuckles. "You didn't see a name or a bank account. You saw me. The man who's been hiding, who's been afraid to feel anything. I've built walls taller than this hotel, but you walked right through them. I don't want anyone else. I want you." He steps closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. "I need you." She stares at him, rain streaming down her face, her heart warring with her head. "What if you break me?" she asks, barely audible over the storm. "What if I let you in and it all falls apart?" "Then we'll pick up the pieces together," he says, his hands sliding up to cup her face. "I'm not perfect, Emily. I've got scars, doubts, a past that won't let go, but I'd rather face it all with you than lose you now. Tell me you feel this too. Tell me I'm not alone in this." She searches his eyes, seeing the man beneath the empire, the one who held her that night like she was his lifeline. Her walls crumble and she nods, a tear slipping free. "I feel it," she whispers. "I felt it since I woke up in your bed, terrified and alive. I'm scared." "Me too," he says, his forehead resting against hers. "But I'm more scared of letting you go." He tilts her chin up and their lips meet, soft at first, then hungry, a kiss born of rain and redemption. The water soaks them both, but it doesn't matter. She melts into him, her hands gripping his wet jacket, his arms wrapping around her like he'll never let go. It's messy, desperate, perfect, the storm washing away the doubt between them. They pull back, breathless, rain dripping from their lashes. "Come with me," he says, his voice rough with emotion. "Back inside. Let me show you I mean it." She hesitates, then nods, her hand slipping into his. They walk back into the hotel, dripping and defiant, ignoring the stares of the staff. Claire's gone, her shadow no match for the light they've found in each other. I'm not running anymore, Emily thinks, her fingers tightening around his. Not from this, not from him. Emily Carter steps back into the Grand Cascade, her hand clasped in James Harrison's, water dripping from their soaked clothes onto the marble floor. The warmth of the lobby wraps around them, a stark contrast to the rain they left behind. Her blazer clings to her hair plastered to her face, but she doesn't care. His grip is steady, grounding her as they move past the curious glances of staff and lingering guests. The storm outside still rumbles, but inside her something has settled, a quiet certainty blooming where doubt once lived. I'm not running anymore, she thinks, her fingers tightening around his. Not from this, not from him. James leads her to the elevator, his tuxedo rumpled and dark with rain, but his eyes are bright, alive with a fire she's only seen glimpses of before. The doors slide shut, sealing them in a private world of soft hums and mirrored walls. He turns to her, brushing a wet strand of hair from her cheek. You're shivering, he says, his voice low and tender. He shrugs off his jacket and drapes it over her shoulders, the fabric heavy but warm with his heat. She pulls it closer, breathing in his scent, a mix of rain and something uniquely him. Thanks, she murmurs, meeting his gaze. For this, for coming after me. Her voice catches, the weight of the night settling in. She almost lost him, almost let fear win. But here he is, standing with her, choosing her. I couldn't let you go, he says, his hand lingering on her arm. Not after everything. Not after you. The elevator dings, and the doors open to the penthouse, the same room where it all began. They step inside, the space familiar yet new. The sofa where she collapsed that night sits by the window, the city lights twinkling beyond the glass, softened by the fading storm. James moves to the bar, pouring 2 glasses of water instead of wine. He hands her one with a small smile. No repeats of that first night, he teases, and she laughs, the sound easing the tension in her chest. They sit on the sofa, side by side, the silence comfortable but charged. She sips the water, her mind replaying the chaos of the evening, Claire's venom, the rain-soaked kiss, the truth spilling out between them. What now, she asks, setting the glass down. Where do we go from here? He leans back, studying her. We start over, no secrets, no shadows, just us. He reaches into his pocket and pulls out her silver earring, the one she dropped in the ballroom. I've been carrying this since you left that morning. It's the first piece of you I held on to. He takes her hand, pressing the earring into her palm. And now, I want all of you, Emily. Forever. Her breath catches, her heart skipping as she closes her fingers around the earring. Forever? She repeats, the word both a question and a hope. She looks at him, at the man who's bared his soul in a way she never expected. A billionaire, yes, but more than that. A man who's fought his past to stand here with her. Forever, he says, his voice firm. I've spent years building this life, this empire, thinking it was enough. But it's not. You showed me that. One night, drunk on wine and chaos, you walked in and changed everything. He shifts closer, his knee brushing hers. Marry me, Emily. Not because of who I am out there, but because of who we are together. Tears prick her eyes, not from pain this time, but from a joy so deep it scares her. She thinks of that first night, stumbling into his room, lost and broken. She thinks of the mornings after, the dance, the rain, the way he's looked at her like she's the only thing that matters. I stumbled into your life drunk on wine, she says, her voice steady despite the tears. But I'm staying sober on love. She leans in, kissing him softly, a promise sealed in the quiet of the penthouse. He pulls back, grinning, and stands, tugging her up with him. Come here, he says, leading her to the window. They stand together, his arm around her waist, watching the city wake as the rain fades to a drizzle. The skyline glows, a canvas of possibility stretching out before them. "This is ours now," he murmurs, his lips brushing her temple. "A new beginning. No empires, no expectations, just you and me." She rests her head on his shoulder, the earring still in her hand, a tiny symbol of where they started. "I thought I was lost that night," she thinks, peace settling over her. "But I was found. By him, by us. The future looms ahead, bright and uncharted. There will be challenges, she knows. His world won't let go easily, and hers won't understand. But they'll face it together, hand in hand, building something stronger than money or power. Weeks pass and their love grows in quiet moments, coffee shared on this same sofa, late-night talks about dreams they've never dared voice, walks through Seattle's streets where no one knows his name. One morning, as the sun rises over the penthouse, James slips a ring onto her finger, a simple band with a single diamond, nothing ostentatious. "It's not about the billions," he says, kissing her knuckles. "It's about you." She smiles, pulling him close. "And you," she replies, "always you." They stand at the window again, the city sprawling beneath them, a testament to the life they're choosing, not one of wealth or status, but one of love, raw and real. "I said yes to a stranger," she thinks, her heart full, "and he turned out to be my home." Back at Emma's stories. That's where we leave them, wrapped in each other and the promise of tomorrow. A love born from a drunken stumble, tested by secrets and storms, and forged into something unbreakable. What do you think, friends? Could you feel their journey? Would you say yes to a stranger who turned your world upside down? Drop your thoughts below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more tales of love that defy the odds. Until next time, keep believing in the magic of unexpected beginnings.